So as you're visualizing your dream, literally feel into the success of it. What will it feel like when whatever you're talking about, you just know something is going to happen rather than get too caught up in how am I going to do that? You can be in the magic of it by visualizing your success. What will it feel like to you when this thing has happened?
Hi, I'm Vicki Baird, and I have created my successful business by helping other people become successful in their own lives. This podcast, Intuition, Your Success Compass, is the tool you've been looking for to find your due north. We all have a soul and we all have an internal knowing. And in this podcast, you will learn to combine what your soul knows, your human self's brilliant intelligence, and the connection to the desire to live a life that is fully successful in whatever that definition is for you. Sound good? Good. Now let's get to it.
Hi there. Welcome back to Intuition, Your Success Compass. I want to talk about something that can seem way too big in a statement form, but is actually achievable. And that, this is going to be redundant, is achieving one's dreams. And the reason I say it seems too big is, well, there are a couple reasons. One, dreams can be really big, like they can be the big picture of things. And that's what I want to accomplish in 5 years, 10 years, my whole lifetime. What's my purpose on this planet, Vicki? To love yourself. There's your purpose. Work on that. You'll do great. So the other part is, what if you're somebody who doesn't know what your dreams are or ought to be? I don't know about you, but I am not someone who, when I was younger, people said, what do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to do? I didn't know. Like if somebody asked me that, I actually don't remember being asked that, but if somebody did ask me, I'm sure a teacher did somewhere along the line, probably gave them some answer that they wanted to hear. That I was going to be a teacher or social worker or, something along those lines. Well, I don't think I would have been able to say, oh, I'm going to be a successful intuitive life and business coach because that didn't even occur to me until decades later. But the statement that we hear or that encouragement that we hear about you just need to achieve your dreams and then you'll be happy, I think is very misleading because that sets all of the joy on actually achieving something when it is honestly about the journey. It is about the process, but it's not about being in the journey the way all of those word arts say. It's actually about each step along the journey being able for you to identify your value and your joy and what you learned and what are you curious about. So I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? Appreciating that we get to have this journey and be part of this thing, but also wanting something greater than where we are. Because as a soul, when you come in, the idea is to experience something different or greater than you've experienced before, not because that was bad. A previous lifetime was bad or being in non-physical was bad. It's not got a judgment on it like that. It's because, ooh, I've learned all these things. Now I want to learn something else. And I want to continue to evolve and expand and to experience more and more and more. So achieving one's dream, I feel like is always a work in process. And then you might apply some progress because you're probably going to change your mind a few times about what is the dream. I was talking to a new neighbor the other day. Well, we've been here almost 6 months, but it was winter in Helderberg. So you don't really meet a lot of people out in that weather. So we're starting to meet some of the neighbors up the street, when they're walking or taking their pooches out for a stroll. And one of them said to me, how are you liking the neighborhood? And I said, I love it. I love the fact that there's space between the houses, that I can breathe in the airs. I didn't say all this to her because we just met, but that it's very grounding for me. But I said, it makes me giggle a little bit because my younger self always said that I need to be, within a quarter mile or a mile of getting milk at midnight. I don't need milk at midnight. I just need to know I can get milk at midnight. I don't even drink milk. But I had that need within me, that feeling, because I grew up in a very small town that still only has one stoplight. And then I moved to this town that actually doesn't have any stoplights until you go down to the village. And I love it. And if you had asked me even 5 years ago, would I enjoy this? I likely would have said, no, that's not my dream. That's somebody's dream. It's not mine. And then as I release, old wiring issues and doubts and all that, this is exactly where I want to be, with a pond and a humongous garden that we just started turning over. So that's going to be fun to watch. And just space to explore. And yeah, it does take me 15, 20 minutes to get to the one store. Well, there's 3 stores in town, but there's one's a grocery. And that's okay, because it's made me more efficient. And that is the dream right now. And I am living my dream. But again, 5 years ago, not so much of this dream. I was in a condo in a city and loving every freaking minute of it. And that process, I think, is part of pursuing your dream, is enjoying the journey. It's embracing the journey. It's embracing not knowing what could be next and what could I want next. But sometimes it's really difficult for us to even allow ourselves to dream, to give ourselves permission to tell stories and to share things. Uh, I'm reminded of one of the things one of my sisters reminded me of was I was always a storyteller. Like when we had to go to bed and it had been a rough day, I would tell stories and I would make up these fanciful journeys that we went on. And I know now, because part of that was my clairvoyance, part of that was the picture I always have in my head playing. There's a movie to everything in my head. And I would tell the stories so that they weren't scared, or that it just got our minds off of things that were going on in our lives and in the house. And I realized years later, when I'm like, well, I don't really dream, I don't know how to do things. I remembered her saying that about me as a younger person that I didn't remember. And then I thought, oh, this is part of creating the dream, right? To visualize, but also giving yourself permission to dream. And I really believe no one else is in there. Like, if your spirit guides are watching, they're going to help you achieve your dream. So first step, I think, is actually giving yourself permission to dream about something. And if something too big, if something seems too far off, well, then just bring it back a couple steps. And maybe you dream of today being a good day, or that you dream of achieving that walk you said you were going to go on before, after, during work. And that's part of defining. So I don't believe in getting down to the nitty gritty of a dream, because I feel like that eliminates the magic of the universe, and it eliminates synchronicities if you get to the very fine point. But I am really great with a list, and even doing some writing out of your daydream, of your night dream, of your life dream. So defining it can be all over the place, whatever definition means to you. If you feel fenced in and too much pressure by defining too much of it, don't do it. But if you feel a freedom and a collaboration with the magic in the universe to have an outline, we'll go for it. If you're someone that wants a note in your phone, oh, I love that, because you'll be taking it with you wherever you go. So when it I think a lot of the times when we hear advice about achieving one's dream, one of the first things that comes up is define your dream. I don't want to. I don't want to. I want to define how I want to feel. I want to name some of the points along the way of what's part of my dream, but I don't have to have it so specific that I get caught in the weed or I beat myself up for it not having happened yet. And that's uh, tends to happen. People assign a timeline, and I feel like the law of attraction and manifestation and energy just get because it's not just about naming it. You have to get your energy in alignment and you have to allow. And oftentimes that allowing is the hard part. So if you hear the message of you must define your dream, I'm going to say, let's loosen up. Let's allow the definition to be fluid and to move around and to be open to what is the dream now? What could the dream be? And then I always say when I'm manifesting, I always say, I'd like to be pleasantly surprised by where this goes. Because I am not going to pretend that I know all and that I see all and that I'm in charge of all, because that's exhausting. So as you're visualizing your dream, literally feel into the success of it. What will it feel like when whatever you're talking about, whatever you're thinking about, or maybe you have a precognitive hit and something comes in and you just know something's going to happen, rather than get too caught up in how am I going to do that. You can be in the magic of it by visualizing your success. What will it feel like to you when this thing has happened? It's okay if it's not fully defined. It's going to morph. It's going to change. You're going to grow and evolve. So you're going to be adding more data into the system. So it's important to not get too pinpointed about it, but to feel what it will be like, so that when maybe you're frustrated or you just had a day where things aren't turning out, you can go to that and say, okay, I remember that I planted this seed, talk about gardening seeds. I planted this seed of how I want to feel afterwards, because most of manifesting is not writing a list or doing a vision board. How do you feel when this thing that you say you want to do is accomplished? And sometimes when I'm coaching with people, I'll ask them to do this exercise, and I'll say, what will it feel like when all of this comes into fruition? And if it's not, this feels cool or relaxing or I'm excited, well, then that tells me that it may be somebody else's dream and not necessarily the person I'm working with. So we just have to look at that. You may want to do that for yourself in accessing what is it that you want. I love the phrase micro movements matter, and not just because I came up with it, but because that's what I had to use to turn off the I want it now part of my brain that wants things just to happen as soon as I feel like they're possible. Why can't they be right now? And that is the fun energy. You can have a knowing that something's going to happen, and it may be years in the making. And we forget to get that part as our intuitive download, because perhaps and likely that we have to shift some of who we are and how we are in order for it to happen. So micro movements matter. We're going to break it down. We're going to divide it into steps that feel just as good in accomplishing and succeeding in as the final result. Well, because have you ever done that? Have you ever laid down something that you feel like you're going to feel so good when this happens? And then the motivation is more about feeling that way when you're done. And then you don't feel that way. Yeah, been there, done that. And what happens around that is that you got too attached to the outcome. That is what's going to make me happy. or you grew along the way, and probably a combination of the two. So if you can really experience the part of the journey, part of the putting it all together as being joyful, then it's more manageable. And each of those micro movements really do matter because you get excited about each step of the process. Here at home, Mike has been putting in fence posts, digging fence posts so that when we line up with the dog we will adopt, the fencing is already there to allow them to go out and stretch and roll in the grass and do their business. And he was getting down on himself for having not had everything all figured out. And I'm like, can we just pause here this moment? You just dug 12 fence posts by hand and in a very wet area. And they all look beautiful, beautiful. So can we be in this moment and just appreciate it? And then we'll go order the supplies of what's next and figuring out all of that. So by breaking it down into steps, and then I said to him, this doesn't all have to get done overnight, because even if that dog were to walk right in our front door, we have a tie out. I go for multiple walks. This is not a problem that's going to get in the way of the manifestation of this pup. So I want to really appreciate everything that he's doing, but also to realize it doesn't all have to be done today. And that's my role in the relationship. Oftentimes to say, whoa there, buddy. Let's appreciate where we are, because we can't possibly get it done. We have very busy work weeks. We can get everything done in a matter of 7 hours and still have fun on weekends too, because that's really important. So break it down into smaller steps that will allow you to, yes, get closer to whatever this aspiration, this dream, this want is, but it will also allow you to celebrate as you go along. It's like losing a pound, I think, should be celebrated as much as that 50-pound milestone, because then that creates momentum. And as someone who has fluctuated in her gravitational pull, came to this the hard way. So I'm going to encourage you to celebrate every little bit along the way while creating that plan that will help you get there. So achieving one's dreams is often, I think, stated in this kind of airy way. Like, you could just achieve your dreams. I did it. I created a 6-figure course, or I did this. But you know what? Those people also sat down and did some freaking work. So you have to create an action plan if you want whatever is coming to you. And I believe if you have a sense of it or you're dreaming, that is your soul talking to you saying, this is possible. Now, do you want it? Do you want this thing that you're dreaming of, and will you still want it? You have to do the physical part. Remember, north being our soul navigation, south being the physical aspect of it. Well, that's creating an action plan and being grounded in your action plan, because maybe you don't have, full days that you can commit to something, but you have half an hour or you have 10 minutes that you could sit and do a brain dump. You can create a plan that outlines the steps that you want to take in order to achieve your goal. Maybe one day it's research, looking up what's the best program to use, or what would be ideal of an outcome. Is it hiring someone? Is it like you with the fence? We need to research and we need to do the math. And let's be honest, Mike will do the math. I'm really good at the adding on the fly, which is not his forte, but he's really good at formulas. So if you ask me to do it, I'll get it eventually, but it's just easier to divide and conquer. When we're in the store and we need to know how many of those do we need, I can do that. But to figure out what of those are from the beginning, know your strengths. Just know your strengths and run with them. So when you create the action plan, then you can also identify where are some potential obstacles here. And with obstacles, it's not necessarily there to stop you. I feel like obstacles are there to have us pause and to reflect. and to ask, is this the direction to go in? Is this where I want to be intuitively? Like, that's why it can sometimes take longer to get to a certain place, but it's better to do the work up front. Often when people come to me for executive coaching, they think we're going to be just talking about their success in the work world. And that's true. We absolutely want that. If that's what they want. But I am going to be talking to you about these things. How do you feel inside? What feels like it's a block here? What feels like it would be a lot of fun to attain? If I'm hearing obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, I know that is your soul saying, slow your roll, let's take a breath, and maybe interview this process a little bit to see if there's something we're not paying attention to. And what that can also do is to help enforce some strategies to manage these things. And the strategy would be to pause, take a breath, and say, okay, if this obstacle is here, do I need to listen to it? I watched this couple hike the Appalachian Trail last year, Mushroom and Pink Hot Dog, and are their trail names. And Mushroom is from the Philippines, and she's just the most delightful ray of sunshine and is now creating a flower farm. If that doesn't indicate some of her energy, but she's obstacles. And each time I say obstacle, I want to say them in the mushroom form of obstacle, because that's exactly what happens when you're hiking. You will run into an obstacle and you have to figure out how to, do we go around? Do we go over? Do we have to back up and take a bypass trail? Some of those moments will make you so sure of yourself when you figure it out and get to the other side. Achieving your dreams, knowing what your dreams are is no different. You can appreciate the obstacles. I don't think I'll ever say obstacle again without thinking of her, because it just lights me up. She has the most contagious laugh. They're on YouTube if you want just a joyful experience and to get to see the Appalachian Trail. And Pink Hot Dog is doing it on his own this year, and some of his observations. That's what it's like if you really like to hike, and I just adore them. So I'm fangirling a little bit here. So identify your obstacles and have them, maybe even saying it as obstacle takes away the pressure of it being an obstacle. So in doing that, if it's an obstacle that is more out of your league and you're not sure how to handle it, well, then you find support. Often when I'm working with business clients, that's what I'm here for. I am here to see a different route in this obstacle that you think is in front of you, but maybe it's just asking you to pause. Maybe it's asking you to ask different questions. Maybe there's a pivot point here that we can talk about that isn't as big as you think it is, but it's locking you up for some reason because of whatever you got going in the West and your wiring. So if you can, again, embrace the journey and celebrate the victories along the way, you will add them up and they will do more and more, right? So then you can appreciate where you've been, perhaps do a gratitude journal along your outline. What are you grateful for that you've achieved thus far? Maybe you didn't lose your stuffing the last time an obstacle came up. Maybe you paused and, right, this is happening and I need to take this into consideration. I mean, gratitude journal your way around that to how proud you are of yourself because you didn't lose your stuffing as you would have in the previous way. So, and maybe you need to find support. Maybe you do need a coach or a mentor, or there's friends or family that are supported. Do not go to those negative Nellies because some part of your subconscious wants someone to say, this is impossible, so that you can just ditch it and then you can beat yourself up. Subconscious, I'm going to need you to take a back seat. We're not doing that anymore. We are calling on friends. We are calling on family who support us. We are asking our partners that love us, our kids, anyone that see our potential when we don't, use that support to help you navigate some of these places of doubt or insecurity, sheer frustration, not feeling great. So start with a gratitude journal, reach out, get the support. All of this will increase your sense of joy about the process, about the journey, and can help you stay focused. But when yesterday I was feeling and in my stuff and decided, you know what, I'm going to write down everything I'm grateful for. And the trees, animals, the home, my partnership, the friends I have, the family members, right down to the waffle I had this morning. That was amazing. Protein powder and an egg. Oh my goodness, was that yummy. If you listen to the previous episode, I already talked about it. That's how much is affecting me. So reach out and embrace each part of this. Reach out for the support so that you can embrace. And when you're feeling tired, because that's going to happen, you get an infusion. And when you're taking action, it has to be consistent. I used to coach in this way where people could they could buy a package and they could come whenever they wanted. And in the last year, I was like, nope, we're changing, because the consistency of accountability to meeting with me is actually what had to happen, because that consistency of taking action is where the success actually happened. I thought I was being kind and considerate of people's schedule, and I still do. Listen, we all have very busy lives, and all kind of a blanket statement. If you're seeking coaching, you may have a busy life that you need direction with and help. And I wasn't helping by being that flexible. So now when someone signs up with me, I say, we are at least every other week, unless we're on a retainer plan, and that's a different discussion. But consistency and intentional action is how you get the success. There are no overnight successes here. So you might have to adjust your action plan because there was an obstacle, but that's okay, because you developed the skill sets and the emotional security to navigate all of this, because you started appreciating the journey. See how they're all connected? Even if there was a magic wand, I wouldn't give it, because navigating all of this and putting your effort in is where self-love comes from. It's from feeling proud of yourself and celebrating you did something that mattered and you followed through with it. It's part of the human wiring. So good luck trying to get out of that one. You're just going to come back for more and more lifetimes if you're not focusing a bit of your energy on evolution and understanding yourself and achieving. And you don't have to have the capitalist way of achieving. It's trying things, succeeding in them, feeling proud of yourself, and then leveling up another notch. Okay. It's all part of being human. So I'm handing you the cliff notes here. Maybe read them or take them into consideration so that you can feel less frustrated in your own expression of this lifetime. And with that, staying flexible, because like I said earlier, your dreams are likely going to change because you will have hopefully different perspectives on things. And maybe you got rid of some limiting beliefs and something else showed up and you were, oh, I never even thought that was a possibility. And then by staying flexible, you can be open to adjusting your plans and changing of circumstances. And the flexibility helps you stay focused and helps you to have a resiliency and a strength. It's like if you're just doing strength training, your muscles will get so tight that it will eventually impact your ability to squat. It will impact your ability to hinge at the hips to get that deadlift to come up. The flexibility part and the time you take to really stretch your muscle items sore. Today is Tuesday and I did a workout Justin, on Saturday, and it is the workout that keeps on giving because, oh my goodness, am I still very sore. And part of the last couple days has been increasing flexibility. And it was a flexibility workout. That's what's so fascinating. And that's going to help me when I go back into my strength workout tonight because I'm sore, but my muscles are going to remember that I asked them to flex. I asked them to move in different direction. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. We do know how to do this. Oh, boy. Whew. It's going to be challenging, but I'm up for it. It's a part of my dream to hit certain numbers on my strength journey. That's another fascinating part about strength training. But did you know you could increase your weights by a quarter of a pound? I consider that to be a success. My head 4 or 5 years ago would have been like, nope, 10 is the only way we can go. Now I get a quarter on there and you would think I'm ready to compete in the strong woman division. But it's okay. I can drag things across this yard by myself because I do these incremental steps. So staying flexible of body, of mind, of spirit, of dream, of conversation, being flexible with the gifts the universe is bringing you. Go to yoga to get flexible. One of my favorite teachers, her name was Waterfall, is still Waterfall. I remember her saying to someone, you don't go to yoga because you're flexible. You go to yoga to get flexible. And that has also helped me on the days, those days where you try to reach your toes and you're like, who moved them another foot away? I will remember and I will take a breath and channel my inner waterfall. Say, I'm here to become flexible. So the same is true with pursuing any kind of dream or goal, staying flexible. And when you're flexible, when you do the review and adjust and rewrite that program and change it up again, it will help you to appreciate from whence you've come. And it will also help you to know what to change because maybe some practice doesn't support you any longer. Maybe you're in your running part of your conditioning. You actually are doing much functional training right now, although you should mix them. So when you're doing this and staying flexible and reviewing and adjusting, I know there's a lot to this, but when I started writing out this podcast, I'm like, oh my goodness, and then they could, and then they could. So feel free to take this in bite-sized pieces as well. Then I would really encourage you to stay curious, to stay open to what may come about, what direction you may be guiding yourself in, or you may find yourself pursuing, because curiosity is why your soul is here. It gets so curious about being human. It wants to learn every little thing. And it is just as can be just as invested. Don't get invested. But it can be just as invested in starting seedlings as it is starting a Fortune 500 company. Besides, it's not going to be a Fortune 500 company to start. It has to be a seedling at first. So if you stay curious, you'll keep researching, you'll keep learning, you'll keep your brain active. And that will also feed your soul because it will embrace the idea of evolution, of expansion, and of creating a way of life that is inquisitive, being childlike and always asking the questions. So while you do this, if you would practice some self-care, I would really appreciate it because there are going to be days where you take that pill, fuck it all. There are going to be days where you do that. And that's okay. Just walk away. Walk away from it so you don't flip the desk or throw it all away. Self-care is physical, emotional, mental, nutritional, sleep, spending time with people you love, doing items that have nothing to do with the work or the dream that you're achieving. So, you may be working in your business and making great strides and really loving what you're doing, still get tired. Like, it happens. You need a break. So maybe you take on a project around the house that allows you to step out of that other realm, allows you to get very grounded and physical. Maybe you take a trip with someone. Maybe you take a trip by yourself. Practice that self-care, read, meditate, drink lots of water, watch a comedy, eat popcorn, whatever it is that's self-care for you. What is the point of learning what you may want as a dream or what pursuing a dream if you are not enjoying it and you're not taking care of yourself? Because you will do yourself out of a dream. You'll be in the physical, you'll appreciate it, you'll still like it. But by that, I mean you'll croak. So take the self-care time, make sure it connects with what works for you, and don't worry about what other people say about it. So staying focused is part of this, but I don't mean like sit down and really laser point. That might be necessary. But when I think of someone realizing their dreams, I feel the joy of the process. And staying focused and committed is often the advice you'll hear. I will say be focused at times and go play at others, because that will help you create the success that you are seeking. And celebrate your milestones. Celebrate every little bit. Celebrate your progress, your achievements, to help you stay encouraged and inspired and lit up, soul connected. And then when you do achieve, I want you to yell it from the top rooftops. I want you to share it on social media. If that feels good to you, I want you to feel like you can sing it out from the very essence of who you are, because I really believe the more people that are living in joy, the more we can impact others living in joy and maybe be the example that it's possible for whatever they want their joy to be. So when I think about me achieving my own dreams and the things that I experience in my life at this time that are so present because I put this into work and this effort, I don't ever suggest anything I have not put the time into, because it has to work, or I don't want to just be a mouthpiece. I want this stuff to be stuff that actually works. This advice to be what actually works. Then you give that and you share with others. When you're sharing your joy, that could be a smile at someone in the grocery store after this, heading up to the store to pick up a few things. And you better believe I will be riding high from this conversation that I feel like we've had. And I'll share that with a smile. I will share that with a pleasantry with the person who I bump into in the aisle or that checks me out, including that's myself. I like smiling at the recording. Whoever that's recording, I am that goofball that's like, hi, security person, because maybe they don't get acknowledged during the day except when they have to handle something crappy. I want them to know I appreciate them and that I'm not stealing grapes. So you can give that, because you will also feel a sense of connection with yourself. And I believe this is what, when people say, what's my purpose? It is to love oneself, to feel joy within oneself, and then to radiate that out. So it will be a joy beyond what you accomplished. It will be the joy of who you are. And I feel like the more we share that, the kinder, the more healing will be present in the world. Thank you so much for being here. I sincerely hope you achieve your dreams, and whatever that may be. I hope that you have fun along the journey. I hope that you share with others what has worked, because the more we can learn from each other, perhaps the less lifetimes we'll do. As exciting as this is, I'm okay completing that process. And I hope that you will share this podcast with someone who needs encouragement, and that you will go out there and shine your joy all over the place. Be you, be the light. I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickibaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.